love it. Let me know when. That is so cool. I grew up when I was a little bit older. In Dallas, Texas, we went to classical reform synagogue. So there was the 8 o'clock classical service, and there was the 6:30, new reform.
Kids service.
We had the organ. They still, to this day, they still play the organ.
Yeah.
And actually, at HEC in my seminary, they have Founders Day. Every Founders Day, they still play from.
Hey, hi. Hey, Gary. Happy to be here. Good. I'm glad. Okay, time to start. Shabbat Shalom. Come on, everybody, scoot over 6 seats to your right. Come, yeah. All right, whatever. Okay, never mind that. Just everybody close. Open up your prayer book to the top of page 10. We're going to hang out on page 10 for a few songs. Hine ma tov manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Achim gam yachad, hine ma tov manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov. We're on page 10 in the prayer book, second song. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Still on page 10. What's the third song? Yedid Nefesh? Yes? Good. Let's try that. Yedid Nefesh Avarachaman. Yedid Nefesh Avarachaman. Beshoch Avdecha El Retzonecha. Beshoch Avdecha. La 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 la. El Retzonecha. Yarut Avdecha Kemayal Ishtachave Lai la lai La 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 El page 24 in the prayer book. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barachuni l'shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Yadadai, Yadami Melech, Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Melech, Malachi Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Torah Study Shabbat. We're going to interweave some of this week's Torah portion as well as some of the past week's Torah portions into our Shabbat service together. We'll get to study a little bit and hopefully have a discussion about it. I want to welcome those who are praying with us live stream. We welcome you and we're happy that you can be with us this evening. And we welcome all of you. If you will turn to the people next to you, behind you, and just wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom. And we begin our Shabbat services. By page 2, we're going to light Shabbat candles.
La 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 la. La 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 la, ya la 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 la, la. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav, Etzivanu, Etzivan, lehadlik ner. Etzivanu, Etzivan, lehadlik ner. Etzivanu, Etzivan, lehadlik ner. Shel Shabbat. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la.
Page 28, we rise for Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamevorach, Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach leolam vaed, leolam vaed. Page 30. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, v'chochma poteach she'arim, ובתבונה משנה עתים ומחליף את הזמנים, la 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 Moriom v'alala golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or u'maver yom u'mevi lala u'mavdil ven yom u'ven layla Adonai tzot shemo elachai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed Baruch ata Adonai Hamari Arabi la 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 la.
You may be seated. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes for a moment. 2 weeks ago, we started the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, in the desert. That's how it's translated. And at this point in our story, in our history, we are standing in the middle of the Negev. The Israelites are standing in the middle of the desert. They've crossed over, we're wandering, and we are walking in that journey towards the promised land. And I want you to come up with an image in your head of what it felt like to stand in the middle of that desert. Imagine it's quiet. Maybe you've taken a walk away from the hundreds and thousands of other people around you. What does it feel like to stand there? Is the sun beaming down? Is there a wind? Is it cold, which it often gets cold at night? Can you see all of the stars up above? Or is it hard to look in front of you because the sun's glare is on the sand? What does it feel like to look out into that horizon, whether dark or sunny? Check inside yourself about how you feel right now looking at that horizon. We pray, listen together.
If you're lost, you feel afraid, and you don't know what to say, then listen to our God. Is there a question on your mind? Are the answers hard to find? Then listen to our God. Listen with all your heart and soul, and with all your might. Write them and learn them and teach them well, every morning and night. Close your eyes and listen. Quiet yourself, there's nothing to say. Stop all the chatter that gets in the way and listen to our God. When the wind and the thunder finally disappear, rises, they will bow. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Baruch Shem Kevod Malachuto Leolam Vaed. Listen to our God. Just listen to our God.
You may take your seats, page 40 for Micha Mocha.
La 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Di kamocha va'elim Adonai, di kamocha נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, יאללה לה 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 לה, יאללה לה 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 לה, יאללה לה 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 לה, יאללה לה לה לה, יאללה לה לה לה, יאללה לה לה לה. ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. Page 44. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ובן בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Eshamru bnei Yisrael et hashabbat ha'asot et hashabbat לדורותם ברית עולם.
Before we begin our Amidah on page 48, I invite you to go back to the desert. If you feel comfortable, please feel free to close your eyes again. This time, maybe you are with the thousands of others, or maybe you are separating yourself again. Take yourself back to the time of day in the desert that you imagined before. But this time, there's an overwhelming feeling of possibility. There is something at the edge of that horizon. And you are going to keep going and keep walking. But you know that there's also someone else or some other thing, some powerful force that's going to help you on that journey. Maybe it's an element in nature, that wind or the sun or the stars, or even the sand beneath your feet. Or maybe it's God, an energy force that's going to walk with you closer and closer to the promised land. I invite you to stand for Amidah, page 48.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ahel Hagadol Hagibor ve'hanora El Elyon גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם עזרת שרה
Page 50.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופים ברופא חונים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, בשם ומצמיח ישועה ונאמנת להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני האל אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please take a few moments for silent prayer, praying the words through page 62 or the words in your heart, and you may be seated when finished. I'm going to invite you while Cantor Doug sings a song. We're actually going to just do a circle over here for our Torah study portion. So if you'll help just kind of move the prayer books, the Cedar Ream, and we'll do a circle right here. We'll join each other in that circle. Go for it.
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to move. Oh, sorry. No, we're going to move chairs.
Yeah, we can just move that front row of chairs right there. Just keep all these in place. We've got about mitzvah tomorrow. Yeah, great. Always asking questions, we open up our lives, marveling at thunder we heard. There's a world in every story, a story for every heart, wrestling in wonder with the world. Chazak, Chazak, we will be strong as we walk the paths of peace. Chazak, Chazak, we will be strong as we walk the paths of peace. Seeking after wisdom, thrilling at discovery, learning from the sages, new and old. Wings of God brush by us, fire black on white, shining in the pages we unfold. Chazak, Chazak, we will be strong as we walk Chazak, Chazak. We will be strong as we walk the paths of peace.
This is the way to do Shabbat right here. Thank you for joining me as we move into a circle, a study circle. We are going to, what a significant Torah portion this Shabbat. It's called Naso, which, seriously? Amazing. Oh my gosh. That's Brandon's. And Dina's father did part of it. Yep, exactly. That's what we're going to look at together. So I'm going to give you a little bit of context. Thanks, Cantor. We are in the desert, like we imagined we were, and we are building the tabernacle. We're continuing to build the tabernacle. The tabernacle is like a portable ark, like you see here, but much more extensive. And there were different areas that people could enter and not enter. And it was a community portable building. It was done by the community. And so the Torah portion opens up by God telling different tribes, different communities to bring or carry certain parts of the tabernacle across the desert. So for instance, he asks one group to carry the tapestries and the hangings of the tabernacle, another group to carry the beams and the pillars. And yes, it was portable, but also very heavy, and there were a lot of pieces to it. So God is asking that Moses take care of dividing up the labor so that, again, just like the community built the tabernacle, the community is going to travel with the tabernacle as well. And then God says to Moses that to tell the Israelites to send away any lepers, anyone with diseases, anyone who is unclean, man or woman, doesn't matter who, they need to leave the camp. It needs to be a camp filled with purity and cleanliness. Part of this, although we won't focus on it right now, is it mentions the sotah, the man's wife who goes astray sexually. So the adulteress. That if there is someone who is found doing this, the punishment is going to be so severe, and the way in which they will basically deal with this punishment is there's two offerings that the sotah needs to make, an adulteress needs to make. She needs to bring a meal offering of jealousy and a meal offering of remembrance that recalls the wrongdoing in which she has done. So now we pray. Sometimes we ask God for forgiveness or ask energy sources for forgiveness. Sometimes we praise God. We're thankful in our prayer. And during the time of the Israelites, one of the ways in which they would pray or connect with God was by offering sacrifices. So these were different ways of showing that they were sorry, both to God and to people in relationships. And not only was she then, after that, supposed to give these two offerings, she was then supposed to drink bitter waters that would make her belly swell and her thighs sag. And she will become forever a cursed word among her people. So, not a lot of forgiveness. Now, we could spend the whole time on sotah, and I'm happy at some point other than tonight to do that, although we can dive into a little bit after we focus on the other part of the Torah portion. But when taken out of context, especially, it sounds very harsh. We have to ask the question, why a woman? Why not a man? Men were permitted to have concubines at this time. So there is the question of whether or not, because they were allowed to have concubines, it was different for a woman to go astray than it was for a man, because a man was not considered to go astray in those situations. Lots, and in the Torah women's, you can imagine the women's Torah commentary, they have a lot to say from a feminist perspective on it. And that really is just a section. There's just a couple of lines about this, like it's dropped in, like, and then if this happens, this is what you should do. And then it moves right along to one of the other parts of the Torah portion that I would love for us to focus on together tonight. So if you turn, we're in Numbers 6:14. So if you look at page 828. Though, if you have not looked at a book like this before, we're at the top part. There's a section kind of with a small little dotted lines. Those are the commentary at the bottom. We're on the right side of the page, left side of the page, the right page, page 828, if you're looking at the English. And you can see the little numbers, very small little numbers. That has to do with the verse that we're on. And so if you look at verse 22, sorry, and we're at 829. If you look at page 829, verse 22, I would love for someone to read those lines. Yod He Vav He is Adonai. Please, Jill.
Adonai spoke to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and his sons, thus shall you bless the people of Israel. Say to them, Adonai bless you and protect you. Adonai deal kindly and graciously with you. Adonai bestow divine favor upon you and grant you peace. Thus they shall link my name with the people of Israel, and I will bless them." On the day that Moses finished setting up the tabernacle, he anointed and consecrated it and all its furnishings, as well as the altar and its utensils.
That's perfect. You can stop right there. I'm going to pass out the transliteration of the prayer. This is the priestly benediction that you may have heard about. When are we giving the priestly benediction? When is a time in which we would today give it? It's Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Sometimes we have the, right, with the sign of the Kohen, the priest. So when is it? When is this kind of blessing given to someone? A wedding, birth, bar mitzvah, Shabbat. Yep, depends on the synagogue, or absolutely the tradition of the synagogue. Baby namings. Yep. Yep, I think we've covered a lot of it. Sorry? Exactly. Yep, for your kids on Shabbat. Some people have taken on the responsibility of doing the priestly benediction for their family. So you'll see here, everyone have it? Yep. If you look right under the words priestly benediction, there's a reason for why I actually did it the way that I did, which is, this is the transliteration. What do you notice about just the transliteration? I'm looking for you to notice formatting or structure of the poem. Mm-hmm. Great. What else? This one's a little bit harder. Good. Good.
Adonai is the second word in each verse. And Alecha is the
And the first word is Yivarechecha with a Yud. In Hebrew, the Y. Bless you and like you. In English, it's different. But in Hebrew, it's Yivarecha as a Yud, and Yair as a Yud, and Yisam.
Yep. So they start with Yud. That's another great point. And this one's a little bit harder because you would really only notice this in Hebrew. So I'm sorry for those that can't read the Hebrew. But the other thing is that the Hebrew letters, the first Yivarechacha Adonai V'Yishmerecha, 15 letters. The second Yisa Adonai Panav Elecha V'Yisem Lecha Shalom, 20 letters. The third, you can probably guess, 25. So they build on each other. A little bit of background, and then I have some questions for you about the structure. The priestly benediction was given by the priests. So originally, who were the original priests of the Israelite people? The Kohens, but who were the first Kohanim? Moses and Aaron. Okay, Aaron really was more Aaron than Moses. So Aaron was the first priest. We will read in Torah about how the priests are supposed to dress. You were a priest based on the line in which you were born, right? So those that came after, only men. And what was the role of the priests in this time period? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What else?
Wasn't it also the person who met out the justice that needed to do
Great.
something else?
Same, both are correct.
Spoke for Moses.
Right? Spoke for Moses. Yes. And they were the ones that, because they were the leaders, right, of sort of the entire Israelite community, they were also the ones to not only deal out with the justice and the sentence and the terms in which were given to people, but also the offerings. And depending on what sacrifices were given, at what point, and for what, the priest was responsible for not only offering the sacrifice, but some of the offerings were eaten. The priests were to eat. Sometimes the offerings were given to the person that offered the offering. And so the priest played a role in, and also assessing the animal. So making sure that you always had to bring an animal without a blemish. If you were bringing an animal, if there was an offering that required an animal. So that the priest was to do that. And there are levels. There's the Kohanim, right? Those were the priests that were in making the sacrifices. And do you know who the Levites were? Anyone have any idea what their role was in the synagogue? In the Mishkan, in the tabernacle? They washed the feet of the priests. And, good. Wasn't even thinking about that, but yes. Do you remember, Jill? They helped carry pieces of it, right, that weren't mentioned by the other family members. And there's this sort of joke that they were the janitors of the tabernacle. They were the ones that cleaned up the mess. If you can imagine, when we think about, if you've been to the wall, if you've been to the Western Wall, the Kotel in Israel, it's beautiful. And if you think about the wall, our wall was made to look like the Kotel. And you think about the way that our Torah is now, we think of cleanliness and beauty. You aren't allowed to eat in the sanctuary. But in the tabernacle and in the temple, it was a bloody mess, right? Because things were killed and offered right on the altar right there. So the Levites were in charge of cleaning up after the Kohanim. Anyone know if you are Kohen or now what? Are you?
Levi.
Really? Really? You know that you're a Kohen? Oh, that's right. We've had this conversation. Okay, so who else? Anyone else know they are Kohen? Yeah? Oh my goodness. Okay, so Yaniv? Levi, all right. Do you know nowadays, not even really nowadays, it was way back then too, but do you know what some of the special responsibilities were given to the Kohen, or things that you are limited in doing?
For now, they can't get divorced. They can't go into a cemetery.
There's, is that the first Aliyah? Told the
Oh, traditionally, I don't know. Not traditionally, but in conservative Orthodox, yeah. Amazing, thank you for teaching me something new. So You can't go into a cemetery, or you can't. And do you know why?
I think because of the purity.
Unless the person who passed was a woman.
That's right. So unless the person was a Kohen that died, you are not allowed to, again, this is halakhically according to Jewish law, you are not allowed to go into a cemetery because being around someone who has died or being around dead people is not pure. And it goes on and on. There's other pieces as well. There's Torah portions set aside, or the Aliyah, the blessing before and after Torah is set aside. I just learned something new for the Kohen. So there are certain responsibilities that even nowadays, that there are certain denominations of Judaism that follow that based on your line, your bloodline.
I think also, excuse me, when you have
Yeah.
that Pidyon Ben, it has to be a Cohen that does the exchange of the.
Do you want to explain?
It's when a boy, the eldest boy is 30 days old, you need to buy him back.
Mhm.
So you give the Cohen the gold so you can keep your son. I mean, I'm mixing it up.
You're right on. That's what a Pidyon Ben is.
And I lived in Israel. People did was the whole family collected all their gold. All right, take off your gold, put it in a tray, and offered it to the Cohen who was a stranger, because there were no Cohens in the family who came in. I mean, somebody that somebody else knew, and they made that
Exchange.
It's a big party.
Same thing with the first fruits of your orchard, first fruits of your flock,
Also Cohen.
also goes to the Kohen.
Mhm.
That's the offer.
That doesn't get bought back, though.
That's the offer. And that's the real McCoy.
Yeah,
That's how
that
they
just.
started kaput.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
The fruit?
Wait, what'd you, just say it.
What's it called, that
Kompot.
Compote,
That's
the-
right.
the
And that's how
fruit,
they started compote, because they kept the fruit, they had to put it together.
Okay, that sounds like something grandma would have told you. But they say, you
It's
should
Bubba
book
Meister.
my-
So the priest was considered the blessing receiver and the blessing giver, right? So the priestly benediction, especially this blessing, was given on behalf of God to a person, because God wouldn't meet directly face to face necessarily as we would literally take it. The priest would. And now we rabbis, especially in Reform Judaism, have taken on the role and responsibility, one of the most amazing roles and responsibilities that I get to do, especially around a bar bat mitzvah or baby naming or a wedding, right, Cantor? You'd say as a Cantor too, is to bestow this blessing that's very, very sacred. And I'd imagine, I haven't done many of these, but when you see them through the life cycles, you baby name and give them the blessing, and then bar bat mitzvah, give them the blessing, and marry them. It's a pretty cool experience to go through that. So let's back up a second and talk about that structure. The 3 lines, the 5 lines, the 3 words, the 5 words, the 7 words, the 15, 20, 25, or in translation. Yep, exactly. Sorry. So building on each other, let's talk a little bit about the English translation. That's the easiest way to do this. So first line, may Adonai bless you and protect you. Second line, may Adonai show you kindness and be gracious to you. Third line, may Adonai bestow favor upon you and grant you peace. There are many times when we will end the part of the priestly benediction where we'll say the ultimate gift, the most holy of gifts, shalom, of peace, the climax of the prayer. And yet, one of the things that gets lost sometimes in that emphasis is the other verbs that build us to the shalom that we are supposed to receive. So it's not only how we get shalom, but how God gives us shalom. And that's what I want to focus on tonight. So in the first verse, God blesses and protects us. When you think about protection, what do you think about? What comes to mind when you think about being protected from something? Sorry? Okay, being healthy. What else?
I think of things like, and simple everyday things, you know, like, I could have fallen, I could have hit that other car, I could have, you know,
Mhm.
there before, and I see other people there before the grace of God go by. I mean, that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
To things that are going on around my
Lovely, that's
life.
beautiful.
Like,
Yep. Anyone else have another example of protection, God protecting us?
His arms around us.
Yeah. Almost like our Hashkivenu prayer, right? So safety. I was thinking about that too. Sometimes I think about actual physical shelter, actual physical food, right? That's protecting us from other dangers that may come our way. First line are things that God gives to us that are physical or material in some way. That protection, when we think about protection, we think about safety, we think about health, we think about, thank goodness not getting in that car accident, not falling. And that somehow after that line, we are transformed. If God blesses us and protects us, we are transformed in some way. How? Then we get to the second verse. The second verse is, may Adonai show you kindness and be gracious to you. Vichunecha is the word, be gracious unto you. Vichunecha, chen, how would you translate chen? Mm-hmm. What about you, Cantor?
Chen is kind of a gentle gift.
Mm-hmm.
There's a kind of a yin quality.
I would have said grace, and I was looking up some of the translation as I was preparing for tonight, and it's actually a hard word to translate. There isn't, it's not a black or white word. So I like the yin yang especially because if you have chen, you can balance it with something else, right? So the word grace or beauty is a way to describe it, but it doesn't get to the actual core if you actually know Hebrew. But something I think it does is it enhances the quality of living. If you have chen, there's something about it that makes life beautiful. So God gives us this. This is what's given to us by God in the second line. First line, we're transformed. There's some physical protection, physical blessing of us. And the second line, God is giving us a piece of God, perhaps. That God is being gracious unto us, however we want to describe that. God is showing us kindness or giving us kindness in the blessing. And then our third line. We get shalom, but it's how we get it that is important. And it comes from, this line especially comes from God lifting up God's face, the face that we're not permitted to see. We're told we're not allowed to see God face to face, and that's in Exodus. But God shows us God's self in this blessing. It's almost as if we're making some sort of eye contact. And I don't know about you, but anytime we make eye contact with someone else, Michael, maybe you can describe some of your videos even and pictures that you take. When we make eye contact with someone, there's an intimacy there. There's a connection that's made if we really spend the time connecting with someone with our eyes. We don't do it enough. Oftentimes we pass someone in the hall, we say, how are you? It's a very quick, fine, and we walk away. Nowadays, I'd even argue it's so much worse because we have our phones. And so it's even harder to make that eye contact. But I think that the bestow favor upon you and the granting you shalom, that peace, one of the ways in which we can look at this is that this is the intimacy that we get from God. So it builds from itself. First of all, there's the physical, and then there's the grace, and we're getting a piece of God. And then we get to see God face to face in the end here, in this last line. I'm going to stop there. Anyone have anything that they'd like to ask or say? Yeah. Yes.
It seems there's a progression here, as you mentioned. We start out with physical protection, the basic security that we need, and that's in the first line. In the second line, we show an emotional bonding, a warmth, a non-tangible expression of God's connection with us. And then the ultimate is from feeling, just like being a parent, physically protecting your child and giving the love and warmth and non-verbal emotional connection. And ultimately, the result is this peace, this shalom, this completeness that comes from the progression of God's connection as explained in this prayer or blessing.
It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I want to just mention if you look at the second verse, Ya'er Adonai Panav is God's face. So that's what I was talking about as far as the face-to-face element. You see the word Panav in that verse, and you also see it in the next one, right? So we're seeing something about God, or we're being let in to a piece of God. That's why, one of the reasons why this prayer is just so special and so holy to us. Someone else was, Fred, yeah.
So, I sort of feel like this also leads to us being a vessel, God's message to others as well. So that it's not just what we receive, but that God has told us so that we can be careful to those around us.
Very much so. Definitely. Yeah.
When someone makes eye contact with you, it sends a message of sincerity. When you make eye contact with someone, you're sending a message of sincerity. Doesn't this all come together with eye contact? And all that comes out of it?
Mhm. There's some kind of partnership that I only feel at the end, that I don't necessarily feel at the beginning of the prayer, just personally. When I think about God blessing and protecting, to me that feels like something bigger than me doing that. There's an honor, there's a sense of awe, that's the word I'm looking for, in those lines. And then God showing God's self in with some kind of grace. It feels I'm feeling a little bit closer to that element, that energy source. And then God showing God's face and giving peace. I'm feeling a little bit more of that intimacy, or that what you were talking about as far as the eye contact. In that, there's a book by an amazing philosopher. His name was Martin Buber, and he wrote I, Thou. And it's all about the I-thou relationship. What does it mean to be in relationship with God? Truly in relationship with God. Do you know that one of the reasons why I think it feels so good inside to help other people in need is because we are reminded that they are people. We're reminded, because so often we're going about our own business, that we don't remember that things can be so vulnerable and scary out there. And then we do something to help others, and it lifts us up because we are helping God's creation. We are connecting with God in a different way. That's my own understanding or belief in it, but I think that is that eye contact, that I-thou relationship that we enter with God. If you want to read an amazing book, happy to send you the title of it. It's I-thou, but I'm happy to send you the title in an email or a text. It's an incredible book. Any other comments, questions?
Wasn't Martin Buber the one who said that God is in the hug?
Yes, in the I-thou. I don't know if it's actual hug or physical contact. I don't remember hug specifically, but maybe a modern interpretation.
Could be.
So my blessing for all of us this evening How many of you did not know this blessing before we studied together? So this blessing, a blessing that can take on a lot of regular purpose, meaning we can use it a lot. We can really use it anytime we want. However, we know that typically it's used at a baby naming or a wedding or a bar bat mitzvah. So you know, if you've been to a congregation or me bar bat mitzvah, we say private words of blessing, and then we put our hands on the shoulders we cup our hands around your child or you. That's when we give these words, to the children. And it was given the same way when we had sacrifices that we offered, and then even later in life when we were given these transitional moments, that's how we celebrated them. So my wish, my hope for all of us is that our days, our relationship that we have either with God or energy source, something other than ourselves, builds on itself like this blessing does. That you get moments in your days, your weeks, your months, whatever it is that you take those spiritual moments, and that you actually have the opportunity to feel that building on itself. And when you feel that, the physical, the emotional, the intimacy, the sincerity, my hope is that you feel that sense of shalom, that sense of peace. And shalom, the word shalom, hello and goodbye, but shalom means complete or wholeness. And I truly believe that if we take the time, spend the time and energy building this kind of relationship with God, with people, we can feel this. One of the times in which I think we feel the most broken is when we are separate from how we usually feel when we're sick, when we're struggling with something. We're either going through a difficult job transition, right? You can think about a moment in your life, in the life of those around us who are feeling broken and aren't feeling that sincerity, that face-to-face with God. I think sometimes when we pray the Mishaberach, which oftentimes we do around Torah study, because the words are so alive and so close to our hearts because we've opened it up and we're studying the words that God gave us. I think that sometimes it's about asking for that moment of shalom, that moment of feeling complete, whatever that is, that moment of feeling whole, either for a second or for a moment or for an hour or for a day, whatever it is. It's feeling that. It's coming close to saying, I felt God. I felt a connection. I felt at peace. I want you to think about those right now who could use this blessing, this peace. Maybe it's you or someone you love. And let's bring them into our circle together, mentioning their names, their relationship to you, and that hope maybe from all of us, even if we don't know the person. This is the beautiful part about what our congregation does. We may not know the person, but we can still also ask for that moment of peace and healing and wholeness for them. There's a lot of brokenness. Tonight we ask for healing for
Allison, Daniel, Dimitri,
page 253 if you'd like to follow along. Shabbat Shalom. Before we conclude our services with Aleinu and Mourner's Kaddish, just a couple of announcements. Next week we have Home Shabbat. We hope you will spend Shabbat either in your home or a friend's home and celebrate the restful weekend next weekend. And then the Friday after we have Tot Shabbat. We're doing Tot Shabbat here at Orami. It gets a little hot at the park, so we're going to try it here if you know of anyone that would like to join us for Tot Shabbat. And then we're going to do a celebration Shabbat, Join Me, at 7:30 on Friday, June 28th. And then the next week, because of July 4th weekend, we have another home Shabbat. We're going to do a lot of praying and celebrating Shabbat at home. I think those are all the announcements I have. Just remember, it's time for partnership renewal. It's a great time, and it's also a really great time to tell your friends and family to come check us out and call one of the rabbis, the cantor. Talk to us about our amazing community. We'd be happy to take anyone out for ice cream or coffee, right? Caden remembers I took him out for ice cream. If you have any questions or if they have any questions that they want, feel free to reach out to us. We are going to turn to page 282. I'm going to invite Brandon to the Ark. Anyone is welcome to the Ark. This is the way that Brandon studies Torah and prays, and we are going to do Aleinu together. Page 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגהור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושם
I want to spend one last minute in the desert with you. So if you'll close your eyes. Want you to go back to the space in the desert where you also see the horizon. One of possibility, all the possibilities in front of you, one that may be overwhelming, but God's creation. And whatever you were feeling before, I want you to find something beautiful in that desert, either a feeling or an image. And I want you to bring someone, if you have someone that you miss that is no longer living, I want you to bring them there with you. I want you to experience the desert with them. What does it feel like to have them near you? What does it feel like to just stand there with them? Maybe holding hands or hugging. Feel their presence there with you. A desert that can be really, really hot. A walk that can make you really, really tired. A journey. But also an image that can bring you to a place of peace. A place where you may feel the comfort of someone you love and miss. A place where you can look out at the horizon and remember how much possibility there is. That is our way that we continue our journey towards the promised land. Tonight, we are remembering. Please feel free to share names aloud.
Parents.
And we stand in their memory and in their honor, page 294, from Mourner's Kaddish. Yit gadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute, B'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'gala uvizman kariv yimru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mivarach leolam ulamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'pa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shmei dekudasha brichu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Damiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlam rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'yimru amen. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be a blessing. We're going to end tonight with Hashkivenu, that blessing, asking God to shelter us and protect us and watch over us, similar to our priestly benediction. I will say the words in case you don't know them. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu.
L'shalom, l'shalom.
L'shalom.
L'ha'amidenu Malkeinu.
L'ha'amidenu Shomreinu.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha.
Sukkot
Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha.
Sukkot Shlomecha.
Shelter us beneath thy wings.
Shelter us beneath thy
O Adonai.
wings. O Adonai.
Guard us from all harmful things.
Guard us from all harmful things.
O Adonai.
O Adonai.
Keep us safe throughout the night.
Keep us safe throughout the
Till we
night.
wake with morning's light.
Till we wake with morning's light.
Teach us daily wrong
Teach us
from right.
daily wrong from
O Adonai.
right. O Adonai.
Amen, amen.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom to everyone. We'll do Kiddush and Motzi in the Nashri.